Connect on Twitter at Ashraf Gada.
How much do you know about Sentio Capital? Well, Sentio's investment for good philosophy is based on a genuine desire to use their investment skills for the benefits of broader society, while also delivering superior returns for clients, regardless of market conditions. If you want to know more, get to check out their website, which is sentiocapital.com. You got that, sentiocapital.com, for more information, particularly on their Sharia investment products. Sentio Capital, invest for good. Sentio Capital Management is an authorized financial services provider. Let me just tell you, as I say that, I'll be chatting a little bit more about their financial Sharia-based products, and that comes up shortly. Let's move on now to the feature we call Champion Spotting. It's so aligned to what I do at Champion South Africa. So let me just tell you what I do. Champion South Africa exists to try and, well, in fact, with one goal, to build South Africa into a champion nation. We play outside the political spaces, but we certainly want to influence thought change here so that people can get switched on as to champion thinking as the first step to becoming a champion nation. So we focus on building the champions that will build the champion nation. Part of that means that I have to spend a lot of time spotting champions, seeing who are already champions in their spaces. And they come from a whole range of communities, from business to sports to community development and a whole lot more. So one of the people that we want to talk to today, in my opinion, has certainly done just that, because I certainly like her career trajectory. And that's Nazareen Ebrahim, the CEO of NES Consulting International. Nazareen, appreciate your time. Good morning and assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Ashraf. Jazakallah for the opportunity, and it's always great to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
And
I have to say,
I made this because I respect you so much, so I stop my schedule when you call. Definitely.
Oh my God, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, let me say this up front for those that don't know. Part of the champion spotting here is that we at Champion South Africa have we have a partnership with you guys. I mean, that already tells you that between ourselves and NES Consulting, the relationship that we have on the business level, which I think is just fabulous. So that's a good starting point, right? But having said that, let's talk about you. I've made the point that I like the career trajectory. So perhaps tell us where you are and what you do.
Thank you for that, Jazakallah, for the opportunity. I am founder CEO at NAS Consulting International. We are a growing premier African corporate communications business, and part of that is obviously what we are dealing with right now is onboarding, understanding AI marketing tools across the board. Because I just read on Twitter this morning that a copywriter was fired from a massive company. In fact, most of the copywriters were laid off because ChatGPT is an excellent, I would say, assistant.
Oh, and so already fired. I mean, that is so worrisome. We'll probably have a ChatGPT hosting a show like this tomorrow. Yeah,
it's thoughts that we must have and realities that we must face. But in the midst of that, we're also, as a business, as we aim to grow, we grow having to pivot once again with the new tools at our disposal. So it's a very interesting time. In addition to that, just some of the stuff that we do on a daily basis, I can move between strategy, customer relationship management, new client engagement, understanding the thought process, looking after staff, trying to buy groceries, getting my parents what they need. So it's a whole
putting that all together. Yeah. But therefore, in terms of the core business and what you're known for and what you're getting, what people use your services for, I mean, give me some examples of what you do. And if you can share, some of those, some of them are private, I may understand that, but others can be very public that you're able to share.
So that's a great question. A lot of the work that we do is to understand the client's need to present a very good brand experience to customers. And that typically means, so if a company thought about what does it mean for them, if they use the website, if they use various social media platforms, if they had an opportunity to ever do any kind of media presentation, so they were interviewed on a television show, they had a radio interview, if they want to run adverts online, or they want to communicate with doing outdoor marketing, those different elements, they change fundamentally. They've changed quite a lot in the last couple of years. And the fact that Elon Musk now owns Twitter means many changes come in new forms. And that's primarily our role, is to get customers to understand what their business looks like in that particular space, particularly digital. And do they need to be on all platforms? And if they do, then do we build those out? How do we create the messaging? How do we manage reputation and get people ready in the business to be able to also build that skill in-house? So as an example, we're doing work with Gauteng Tourism Authority. Their portfolio is massive, considering it's the province that they're marketing as a destination, both for business and tourism, entertainment, etc. And it's a very interesting landscape or dynamic to understand if they are promoting what the Economic Development Office of the Economic Development and Tourism Unit want to push tourism or township economy versus having what they have these categories called sporting GP and musical GP and food GP as an example. Very interesting understanding of what it means to keep the business side and then manage the entertainment side, but also understanding that there are a multitude of people in one province and it has a range of attractions and a range of business opportunities. And how do we constantly keep on the button to accurately and interestingly curate and syndicate a lot of that content or create it, and be able to be an amplification partner to Gauteng Tourism Authority as a.
Here's the point. I mean, would you agree that many people, whether let's say they're in tourism or others could be, they're selling blankets, for example, right, or groceries, they would almost tend to often fall in the trap of minimizing the importance of brand communication and how that's perceived by the public. As long as they can sell the goods and the goods are at a good price, that's all that matters. I mean, if someone told you that, that's really not important, I mean, that's not our core business, you're going to argue against that?
Argue against that? Absolutely not. I mean, brand communication is
no. My point is, you're going to argue against their stance that says, this is not that important. It's okay, but we don't really need it.
No, absolutely not. And it's a very good question you asked, because I find increasingly so. One of the experiences that I've had time and time again is that smaller businesses that begin at home, and we have now an economy where home-based businesses are flourishing across the board. The e-commerce landscape in South Africa is characterized heavily by a lead in social commerce, not just the big e-commerce platforms that you'd be experiencing if you bought from a Take-A-Lot or you went onto any of the major retailers who have an e-commerce functionality. But the social commerce, meaning I can sell via WhatsApp, I can sell via Instagram, Facebook, and easily manage communications because I have a WhatsApp line and someone can WhatsApp my business number. That brand communication is about customer service. And the one thing I have found to the detriment of many of the businesses that run in those spaces by getting their own kind of playbook where a customer messages me, I'll fulfill the order, I'll send it out via courier, and that's it. I have noticed that there to be a massive gap in respecting, understanding, and implementing the core values of what it means to have good customer relationship, because ultimately that breeds repeat customers, right, and referrals. And not to be able to articulate that's upfront when starting a business, I think is a massive challenge for many home-based businesses, because maybe home-based businesses might not necessarily have the time, but time and time again you hear the common complaint that customer service is at a low. If there had to be a rating that was allocated to that, it would be very low, because either there is no training or active attention given to that particular part of the business, but it is core, it is essential. This is why companies worldwide spend millions of dollars on reputation management, and including training staff on how to coordinate and interact with people in a personal intercommunication relationship, because ultimately human behavior, and this is what AI is trying to catch up with, and why ChatGPT is so friendly when you speak with it, saying, when I say to it, thank you so much for the feedback, great stuff, just let me know if you need anything else. It's customer relationship, great customer relationship.
Yeah. Because I mean, the point is, it's easier and more important, so easier and more important to retain customers than to find new customers. It doesn't mean you shouldn't find the new customers, but it's more expensive and it's more difficult. It's more hit and miss. You've already got the customer. You need to actually cultivate that relationship, right?
Yes, 100%. I often say this seems hard. Also, we can add to that point. It's hard to find new customers, harder to keep them, because you've proven when you won them you have a solution worth exploring. When you do have them, it's about maintaining that consistent output in terms of excellence, essential to manage communications. And I suppose, Ashraf, here we're talking between the branding and elements of good entrepreneurship. But managing expectations with customers is key. I mean, we've learned the hard way in many instances. It's as simple as something as, say you were going to deliver a project that was going live tomorrow, as an example, website's going live. But there's a piece of content on the site that hasn't yet been signed off.
Mm-hmm.
And the client, of course, has had a busy day. Someone on the team, whoever is responsible for getting the sign off from the client, didn't make that call at 4:00 in the afternoon. But the client has an expectation that the site's going live at 9 a.m. tomorrow. And come 9 a.m. tomorrow, the site's not up because we've had a team meeting at 8:30 saying that, no, the client didn't give us feedback. We're trying to get a hold of them at 8:45, 15 minutes before go live, and no one's answering. And suddenly at 9:15, we get a call from the client. Where is my website? So it's small things like that that are essential when understanding what it takes in order to run a business. And interesting, you should ask me this question, Ashraf. I had a deep discussion yesterday with a client of mine who's also a excellent colleague of mine at Nika Technology Group, Yashmita Bana. And she is actually writing a piece on this. I willingly did this to my body in the name of entrepreneurship. It's an article coming up. And what she means is she had to go for these, she had to go for drip intake 2 days in a row in the last week. Why? Because of intense stress caused on the body by deep decision making. Now, every entrepreneur knows every day is you are responsible for something. And you have to take responsibility for making decisions quickly, slowly, on the go, whether you like it or not, whether it's easy or whether it's hard. These are the things you have to remember. And so that's part of the journey of entrepreneurship. It is incredibly difficult to have mental strain, and that puts a lot of strain onto the physical body. So thinking about that and just going back to understanding the nature of being an entrepreneur, but also now back to brand communications, ensuring that people understand what's going on most of the time. You're not going to get it right all the time, but most of the time, to have everyone on the same page and active communications is essentially how it works online when you're communicating business, the business ethos, the business goals, the business services, what kind of products you're selling, whether it works for a certain kind of market that you're talking to. And when customers talk to you online, then how are you responding to them? So yeah, a lot of parallels to draw between the two areas.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, you mentioned your relationship with Gauteng Tourism, which I think is fabulous. From a Champion South Africa point, next week, going into the week commemorating the anniversary of that first election, we'll roll out those, what's your national purpose, which I'll say up front, I mean, your collaboration has been fantastic on that as an organization,
it's our pleasure.
With Champion South Africa, which then gets me to take you back in the maybe 3 minutes we have remaining. So how did Naz Ebrahim get into a position where she can service people like Gauteng Tourism? She can speak on platforms on the African continent, maybe even virtually in India and a whole lot of places, from marketing to branding to IA and all that sort of thing. How did that happen for you?
Thanks for the question, and it's not often I get to think about it, but it's been an interesting journey. I started out, I did a media and comms degree at what used to be the University of Natal, UKZN. I graduated in 2004. I started working almost immediately. I was very fortunate. I know a lot of graduates don't immediately get a job. And that was just, Allah's grace upon me. Really, it was Allah's grace upon me that I got a job. I applied at Newsclip Media Monitoring, which many people may know as a leading media monitoring company. I worked there for 2 years, nearly 3 years, 3 months short of 3 years, and really got to understand how media is created and the format that it's presented in, which is very good training ground for a young media graduate. But through those years and, understanding where I wanted to go, I always liked working 2 jobs. I'm a bit ADD in that regard. But 2010 was the year I established the business, and really, for all intents and purposes, many years operated sort of as a freelancer solopreneur, but only really established firmly the business, employing people, and really operating as an entity at the beginning of lockdown, where we did extremely well despite the horrific conditions around the world.
So
with
what
COVID.
changed then? I mean, what changed besides lockdown in terms of your attitude and how you then were very intentional about scaling your business?
Intentionality is a very key word there, and you use the correct word, and that's, I suppose, a key learning from being a Muslim. I suppose, whether subconsciously, sometimes you don't realize that how much our lifestyle of being a Muslim dictates what you do to define your character. And character building is about making a choice every day, to do the right thing, and to question when it's hard, to question and to understand, because Ashraf, we live in a world, and you and I have had this conversation before. We live in a world where integrity is increasingly questioned and increasingly pushed. And for me, from a very, very young age, I had understood, even as little as 6, growing up, understood that there was a certain greatness I had, despite any challenges I may have faced, that I needed to follow. I didn't know what it was, and I needed to grow into it. And how that would happen, I did not know. Um, all I knew was, once I finished university, I was good at writing. I was very good at writing, and I had a natural aptitude for speaking and presenting. And I had done leadership elements throughout high school, some elements at university, and then started doing it at small scale through my early career. But once I hit my mid-30s, I really started coming into my own, presenting on TV, doing radio shows. And then in my late 30s, I'm 40 now. In my late 30s, I started doing a lot of international conference speaking. So, alhamdulillah, it's the journey has manifested because I imagined this. I would constantly visualize this in my head. Visualization is such a powerful technique. I would visualize what I wanted because I knew I was great at that. But the ultimate goal is, if I can do it, everyone else can do it. Many women who don't have the opportunity or couldn't find the opportunity can do this. I fought very hard for a lot of the opportunities. I made dua on it. I prayed on it. I constantly just kept being consistent, even on the days that I couldn't be consistent. Yes, you will have your down days. You are going to fall down. You're going to think you're not good enough. You're going to have imposter syndrome. And it all comes part of the territory because of the conditioning from a cultural perspective, perhaps from a religious perspective because of where we live, only because of the cultural conditioning. And those are a lot of things to break through. But once you do, it becomes a very interesting journey on how whatever you've manifested, despite the challenges, will come to pass. So I think, just to end off on that, you've asked me, how did I manage to pivot, making sure that I remain relevant. We have to remain relevant as technology is bypassing us in terms of speed and learning capability. We have speed in certain regards as human beings, but our speed is tempered because, thankfully, Allah has created us so that we don't know all the secrets of the universe. If we did, oh God help us. But if we had the speed at which AI learns, then we just have superpowers. It would be crazy. So thankfully, we're tempered like that as human beings. But to pair that with the developing capabilities of AI is an interesting time to be in. And I noticed that very early on as 2018. So I started, crafting a niche for myself in being a technology communicator. I currently have a guest tech slot every Tuesday morning with Lester Kibir and Cape Talk. And, part of that journey is because I started building that capability. And so it's, transitioned very nicely into the work that I'm able to do now. And it's just up to me to remain relevant.
Well, fabulous. I hope others will talk to you about, tech issues and artificial intelligence and all that sort of thing. For the rest, they must Google you, or perhaps you're going to share your own company, branding. That's absolutely fine. You can tag us too. But just the last thing, and maybe just 30 seconds. So, when we talk about superpower, besides the superpower of Allah as the ultimate superpower, on a very human level, on reflection in 30 seconds, what is your superpower?
My superpower is being understanding that I am only because he has graced me to be, and the fact that kindness always, Ashraf, kindness always, kindness, justice. Those are the what guides me in the decision making that I have, kindness and justice. And when I get it wrong, it's because the days that I may not have the grace to do so. But I really sit and reflect, and I make dua, and I pray on it all the time and ask for divine guidance. Please allow me always to be kind and just in my approach. And the days that I don't get it right.
And we say amen to
Yeah.
that. Kindness and justice. I mean, a nice way to be inspired as we come to the very end of Ramadan, in fact. Well, Nez Ibrahim, thank you so much. So, yeah, my role as a champion spotter, just to tell you that you've been, I do champion spotting and you've been spotted, just so that you've got that. Thank you for your time.
Couldn't have asked for a better champion spotter, and it's such a pleasure to work with you. It's my privilege and pleasure to work with you, Ashraf.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, there you are. You should be inspired. Look at some of the work she's done. I certainly have been aware of it, and it's hugely impressive. Impressive as well in her own spaces for Firdaus Babulia. But today she's going to talk about her experiences at Al-Aqsa, because we continue with the Al-Aqsa Watch feature.